I have to go first. Okay. Okay. So I think, yeah, I think um, it becomes an issue when the relationship becomes boring. Um, and every relationship has a tendency to slip into that boring experience thing, right? So it's just the responsibility of the two persons involved to see how to spice things up, right? That would mean that you have to go out of your way. You have to be thinking. So whilst you're thinking of how to make money, you're thinking of how to um, um, try win the world for Jesus. Because many times we focus on so many other things, but we don't really put our attention. I mean, if you're running a business, you're thinking about strategy on how to, keep capturing your audience, your market. I mean, the more established brands in the market today are the ones that are really, they go all out for um, what's it called, for adverts, right? So you see the big brands, they are paying big bucks, doing adverts and all of that. So it's just that system of trying to, it's one product, but they're thinking of different ways to present it to you, such that you're seeing it as one product, but you're interested. Okay, there's a new package. I really want to be a part of this. There's a new package I want to get. So it's the same thing with marriage. It's just the whole idea to spice things up. Think about ways to spice things up. Think. It doesn't just come like straight up like that, right? So it takes a whole lot of intentionality. You're thinking, so what does this, and you also have to pay attention to the fact that appetite change with time, right? So something that used to thrill the person before,
doesn't anymore,
may not thrill the person anymore. So and in most cases people won't tell you this is what, so it's just for you to pay attention to conversations. So as they talk, as my wife talks, she talks about, unconsciously she mentions things that she currently likes. So it's just for me to pay attention, keep it. So when I want to do something that will spice things up, I just give her what I know. Yeah, for my books, what I know she's currently, so that's,
I also think, like he already said, evolving, you got to evolve. You got to be more than what you were yesterday in terms of what your partner says, like he already mentioned. Also, I think that renewing your commitment, your devotion every day. So just getting to know them more than you did yesterday, paying attention to the things that they do and things that they are not saying, being more involved in their lives, So it's possible to maintain a committed relationship. Possible. So I think that first off, couples need to be friends. I think that that's what aids communication. Because in friendship, it's just pretty easy for me to, either jokingly or seriously, but there are no airs. I'm able to just communicate exactly how it is, and that aids openness. You're able to just jokingly say, oh, this is how I feel about this, and even have very sensitive conversations. Yet because you've built friendship in marriage, there is no fear, as it were. There's that security to have that conversation. So I think first off, if we want to talk about openness, we need to first come from the perspective of friendship, because friendship sorts out a whole lot. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, there are things you would naturally tell a friend that won't be public knowledge. Right. So it's very possible for you to be married to someone who you don't bond on that level with. So your conversations are only centered around when there's something serious to talk about. So when it's that way, you would find out that there are a lot of things you won't be able to communicate to the person. Right. So I mean, using my wife for an example, because majority of the things we're talking about are subjective. Right. So there are things she's on social media, she sees something that a man did to his partner, and she didn't like, right? She talks about it. I take note of it as something that I should avoid, right? So other times also she's something, oh, this man did this for the wife, and she's talking about it. It's just that ability to pay attention when the person is talking and yet not talking to you.
I know it's funny how this same friendship thing plays out in our relationship with God.
Yeah.
Because it's in being friends with Him, there is that openness. There is no shame. There is no fear.
Yeah.
So friendship is just it's a deal breaker in marriage.
Yeah.
It solves a whole lot with openness, communication. You gotta be friends. You gotta be friends, not friends for benefits. That's in courtship.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the friendship has to start even before your intentions of being married is known. Right? So this helps with communication, this helps with being real, and this sorts out a whole lot in marriage.
And the other part also is there are people who were what's that thing? What's it called? When you shut someone down.
Okay.
So someone is trying to say something. Communication has to be established when the communication is making sense. And when it's not making sense.
Yeah.
Right. So when let's say the man or let me use the woman, right?
Okay.
When the woman is being too careful, like, how am I sure this thing I'm saying is making sense?
Yeah.
And and because the man has a track record of anytime she says something that does not make sense, he shuts her down, right? Like, how would you say something like, what are you saying? That would filter what
the weight
of what she can communicate. So she's careful. Every time she's coming, she's careful. Am I sure this thing is something that I should talk about?
Yeah.
Because you know that if you say something that doesn't make sense, so it's in you being able to, okay, you're open to any form of conversation.
Yes.
So if it's a foolish in that
no
sense,
problem.
no problem, we can talk about it, but I will tell you that this thing you are saying, but I won't, not shutting you down.
Yes.
Right? So the ability to communicate how you feel
and also,
without offending the other person is
and also
very, very
ensuring that you're communicating that what they're saying is valid.
Yeah.
Because for next time, it gives them the courage and the boldness to come to you and have any other type of conversation. So these things, friendship helps out a whole lot with it.
Yeah. Well, I don't think I had any.
Fantasy.
Yeah, I don't think I had any. I think I literally came into marriage on one hand, because we've been friends for a period of time.
Yeah.
I knew what I was coming into, right? So if I had expectations, I would have communicated it already, right?
Yeah,
we talked about everything, So, and I also think that the whole idea of marriage fixing you is where problem comes in most times, right? So someone is, I'm not this, but marriage would help me become this, right? So it makes fix yourself. Let the
Spirit
right?
of God work on you.
Yeah. So it's yes, there's a side to the union where you guys complement each other, you make each other better. But when it's a needy kind of relationship, I'm coming into this because of this I can get, it becomes an issue. So for me, I don't think I had any fantasy coming into marriage.
I think if I had any fantasy, I'm leaving it. Yeah, because the truth is, every single vision I had about marriage is exactly what my life is about right now. So I won't call it fantasy. I did not have unreal fantasy.
They were not
a man
real.
Carries me.
Yeah.
Because my husband cannot carry me. Can you carry me, babe?
We tried it a couple of times.
It did not work out. So if that counts as a fantasy, it's a no.
I used to carry you sometimes on my back.
Yeah, that time, but not like this. My fantasy was like this.
Okay.
And go work. So if I had that fantasy, but every other dream, expectation in my head that I had about what a marriage should look like, not what the media sold to me, because what the media sells out to you is not real, because marriage is a whole, that's the reality of marriage is a whole lot different from what the media sells out to you. But for every other thing I'd expected marriage to be, especially because I had looked up to my parents and I also looked up to other godly marriages, I'm right now living in it. You get me? Oh gosh, yes. Ooh, it's a super story.
All right, so
How did we meet?
okay, so she was born in Ota. Ota. I was born in Lagos.
Okay.
Glory. Lagos,
Is there a
Ota.
special visa for people that are born in
Lagos, Ota. Ota. Right, but as God will have it, the journey of love somehow, that's not true. So after I lost my parents, I had to move in with my uncle, who resides in Ota, and he was a member of Christian Pentecostal Mission, which was the same church she was born and all of
Severe mites.
that. Yeah.
Up now. Up.
All right, so yeah, so that was where she was born. That was where my uncle was, and we're in the same children department.
Yes.
Yeah,
And he didn't like me.
and she used to
Because I was a spoils brat.
yeah, she used to look very. To me, she appeared like a proud person. Talk to the hands.
I didn't appear. I was
proud.
an arrogant child.
Yeah.
And just spoiled for no reason.
If not for time, I would have described how she used to walk, but
You know what to say? Yes, okay, so it's
yeah, so
now
that was how we
just-
met, basically.
Yeah.
That's how we met. That's
No,
the
that's how
question.
we got to know each other, not how we met.
So how did we meet?
So you tell me how we met. Tell us.
This how did we meet? That's why I was asking the question. Should I just merge the
That's
two?
that's what the question is.
Okay, I should just merge the
Yeah.
two. All right. So after the whole children department experience, I mean, I didn't like her. I'll just put it out there, right? So I didn't like her because of.
Didn't like
Apparently, she too didn't like me. So it was a
Just
two-sided.
this guy who had a big head, who was wearing oversized suits. Like,
That
how
was
was I
me.
supposed to like him?
That was me.
Let's be honest. No.
You know, that was me. So bring your hand back.
Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Now you like me.
I love you.
Oh. All right. So, all right. So what happened was we had a mutual mentor.
Yeah.
We have not
Yes,
had.
we still have.
Yeah. So we have a mutual mentor, and I used to be very close to him, and she also was very close. Let me do a little confession. So I'm sure he's going to see this video. So there was something that used to bite me at first, right? So she was in school around that time. When we even graduated from children department to the adult church, she wasn't around because she was in school. So myself and my mentor would be very close, would be all chatty. Once she comes like this, his attention will just shift. You'll not be giving me leftover time. I think used to pain me. But being the kind of guy that I am, I was just calm. Because I think my consolation then was like, there's no problem. She will soon go to school. And when she goes back to school, you will come back to me, you know. But the day I knew she was my wife, that was like, I think it's 5 or 6 years
You're jumping
before.
the gun. How
Okay.
did we meet?
But I
The song when I was listening, that's our official meeting.
yeah, I think that was when
So
I
you-
really took note of her.
So you
right?
have to-
So that's what I was going to talk
Yeah,
about.
okay.
All right. So we're in church one night. I think she came for a vigil.
Yeah.
They used to have this music.
I was in SS2.
Yeah, they used to have this music department thing going on. The Hebrews.
Yes.
Yeah, singing group and all that. So
Yes.
they came for a vigil, and I had a vigil, personal vigil in church that night. So we're just our mentor were all together. Then he stepped into one of the offices to get something, and as he stepped out, the anointed minister Judy K. Okay, that time
I
she
was not walking into my call.
then
yet.
she was not yet. So
I didn't
she was
know.
she was singing a secular song, like a very deep secular song. You know, and I don't know. So I walked up to her like, I mean, you're my sister in the Lord now. So I told her, I said, why are you? Actually, it was a conversation first. So I told her, I said, why are you singing this song? Apparently, it means you're listening to it. So she told me that she's into music. You know, she has aspiration of going to music, so that she's just scoring the song. And I told her, I said, there's no way you score someone's riff and all of that, and not pay attention to the lyrics.
And the lyrics was dirty.
Yeah, it was dirty. Right.
Dirty.
So I told her, I said, there's no way you do that and not pay attention to the lyrics. Yeah, so she got angry with me. You know, like that. Why would I talk to her like that? So there was this crack on the ground. So funny enough, we're staying on both sides of the crack. So she told me, said, this attitude of yours is the reason why we would never be close. You know, and that, see, as this line is, this is where you'll be, this is where I'll be. We would never be friends. Now, as she said that thing, I remember she was wearing a white dress. She said that thing, she stepped away. Funny, it was what I'm going to say now. It was that day I knew she was going to be my wife. So as she was just leaving, there was just this weird knowing in my heart that this is your wife. And but you know, maybe when we get there, we'll talk about. Sorry, right? So maybe when we get there, we'll talk about that. But it took, I think it was after 7 years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
it was way after 7 years.
This story cracks me up all of the time because every single time I remember how we met, like I'm like, gosh, I can't believe I'm going to tell her.
This is the person that said there'll be a line. See her now.
Okay, so how did we meet? So let me say my side of the story.
Okay.
So secondary school, I was addicted to songs. I mean, my secondary school mates who would watch this video would attest to that. I was a champion of secular songs. Like I would lock myself up in a classroom and I would dance and just sink into secular song. And so I got to church and I was listening to this song, and one brother in the Lord saw the need to come and tell me that I was in the wrong. And I'm like, Kilagbe Kilaju. What concern me concern you, sir? So you know, and in that spirit of that spoilt brat thing, you know, I went all out to just like, you know what, this mark that is between us now, you know, never come in between. I don't want to have anything to do with you again. And from that day, like he said, the problem was now that we now had a mutual mentor who I couldn't but always have to see him around. But I was always angry when I saw him, like, this guy. But I didn't know that was like the first step to drawing me into what I would now call gospel music. Because I also had another experience like that when I released a secular song.
Yeah.
It wasn't a secular, it was a love song, right? Not dirty love song. It was for a movie. And then, I mean, doors were opening in that regard. And, you know, God used him again to call my attention to that. So, yes, so I will call that our meeting, even though I didn't know what to call it, a blessing. So, yeah, that's how we met. So I think, first of all, you don't try to want to hear God when you're about to get married. That's the first error I think we're making as believers. Hearing God should be just who you are, because it's your right. I mean, he's your father, he's your lover. It's a communication. Every single time you want to pray, what you do is you go into hearing his voice. You go into, I mean, how are you even led without hearing his voice? So I think the first mistake in the discourse of conviction is that we want to hear God when we want to get married, or we want to do just something huge that marks a significant part of our lives. No, you don't try to start to hear God when you want to get married. You begin to hear God in the little things. So for me, I already knew how God would speak to me. I would have an unrest in my heart when he doesn't want me to do things. And I'll have so much peace, like so much peace that I know this is beyond even my understanding. I mean an unshakable peace. So for him, he did not have as much knowledge. I had been in a relationship before, but he hadn't. So there were so many things he was failing at. And we'll come to that. But you know, I had this unshakable peace when his picture would come to my heart. And it was super disturbing because I needed nurturing and he wasn't present. This is when we started courting. right? But then there was an unshakable peace that came with his name, with his image. And I knew God wanted me to be here. God wanted me to wait for him regardless. So I think that with the conviction, you have to know how God speaks to you even before marriage. You have to know how he tells you stop, how he tells you move, how he tells you sit before. It doesn't have to be, not just even marriage. It doesn't have to be when you want a job. No. Start with the little things. Follow him step by step. Because the truth is, your father speaks to you.
Yeah. I'll just be re-echoing the same thing she has said. I also believe that marriage is a very sensitive issue, right? And sometimes I think God is merciful. There are people who say they want to see vision before they know. God is merciful. For some persons, he might talk to them that way. I didn't see a vision. I didn't even hear a voice. I just knew. Right? And because I already had a track record with God with that kind of communication, I knew when it was. And like she said, there was this extra peace right in my heart. And once I knew she was the one, I was fine.
So convictions are just a matter of find out how God speaks. How does he communicate to you? Don't wait for marriage.
Yeah.
Because at that point, trust me, you'll be confused. Any voice you hear, you say it's God. Even when it's not him.
Even the visions can be confusing.
Exactly. Because you say, there was one time I said, Lord, let the man that walks in with a sky blue shirt, Lord, it's him, yes.
Who is the person, sorry?
Guess what? A guy walked in with a sky blue shirt. Yeah. You know. So find out how God speaks to you. Who is the person? I'll tell you later. Well, you know now.
Oh.
Yeah. So find out how God speaks to you. Find out how God speaks to you. Let's go.
Okay, so after I knew, I didn't do anything. In my walk with God, I know there's a time difference between when he tells me something and when he wants me to take a step.
Yes, sir.
So that's why I said it took us 7 years, maybe 5 years later before we became friends.
Yeah.
Right, and she had something she needed to confide in me over, and that was how we started talking. Then she got into school. So when I saw that my window of opportunity, see, that's the thing, I think sometimes people are very spiritual, but they are not also smart, with secular stuff. So immediately she came, I could have, maybe after we had spoken about the stuff she came to talk to me about, I could have just ended it there, because even afterwards she went back to school, right? So what I did was, after that,
you cashed in.
So I started calling, not frequently, right? I'll call, how was your day? Hope you're fine. How is school?
And anytime I saw the call, I said,
Yeah, because it was supposed to be a one-time, I came to confide in you over something and ended there. But I saw, so I didn't do anything for the 5 years that we were just in church. We'll see each other, we'll pass. We'd see each other, we'll pass. We're not talking, not like we had issues. I didn't have issues, but I think my presence used to annoy her. But then, but being real, right? I didn't do anything. I just, when the opportunity came for us to talk, and it came the way it came, I just cashed in on it and started checking up until when she went for service, came back, and that was how the friendship began.
Yeah. I love this question because people see me now and some of them have not let go of the past, and to be honest, it's okay for them to live there. I don't live there anymore, but an encounter with Jesus does a lot to you that you have no idea about. I always say that nobody can truly meet Jesus and their lives will be the same. You can't truly walk with him and your character is not transformed, your character is not formed. It's not possible. There's something that his light does to you, and although I don't know where that pride thing, I don't know how, I don't know, I just know that the more I took in the word of God, I was just adjusting to his nature. don't forget that the nature is already within us. It's left for us to now start to align our hearts, our lives to who we are, because that's our identity. So if he says that I'm humble, that's my I'm a humble child. So I intentionally bow. And do not forget, the flesh would always give you reasons to puff yourself up. But what's the reason? So the more I grew into Christ, the more he was showing me the experiences and how I had done some things that I was just getting better. So that's how my life started to change. And so we have an Ife who was young and did some things, was a spoilt brat, and a Judith today who is totally transformed in Christ and who still has a long way to go, to get better in all other things as I leave myself in the hands of the potter to keep molding. Yeah.
So this is Ife, this is Judith. And she's still...
And we're still going.
Yeah.
Yes, as he transforms us. So I think that the occasions where it wasn't just one occasion. It was more of my watching him maybe teach, and I'm like, this fella he's loaded with wisdom. Paying attention to him, and then when we got to talk, it was deeper than the guy who offended me, or who I was forming offended.
Because I don't know how I offended you by giving you godly counsel. All right.
But so the more I got close to him, the more I realized he was deeper than the frame I had seen or I had encountered. So for some reason, it just made me just open up, and just drop that air of him. It wasn't easy at first but what he did was he was already establishing communication. So it was his establishing communication that aided that thing for me to see, okay, you're actually more than what I had judged you to be, and so that kind of like helped a whole lot of things, and then over time it then corrected.
We're just having a very random conversation, very unrelated, and I had that knowing. I fought it for a few seconds, but when I knew, so all I could say at that point was, will you wait for me? And after I said it, she was like, wait for you to do this or to do that. So I now had to explain what the whole will you wait for me. So but the key line, the punch line was, will you wait for me?
And it was very
unromantic.
Yeah.
Being asked out in the church.
Exactly, and they're not using the Prophet Elijah line. Will you wait for me? Like,